When my mother grew up, she grew up in the 80s in Illinois, in a suburb right outside of Chicago proper called Evanston. In her time in the Evanston Public School District, she had comprehensive sexual education from the time she was in 5th grade to her senior year of high school. One of her favorite stories stemming from her education was when she was in the 7th grade. She was in her science class when her teacher walked in, blew up a condom like a balloon, and said, "Ladies, never let a guy tell you he can't fit." And that was how my mother introduced me to safe sex when I was 8. That and a story about a memory game with STDs, but I'll spare you from that. She then got into the gritty details, but I'm sure most of you already know that, and if you don't, I won't be the one to tell you. So why am I telling you this, frankly, embarrassing and weird story? It's to highlight the fact that this happened in the 80s, and it is more comprehensive than anything I have received within a school. And I've been in school since 2010 in 2 different school districts and 4 different schools. It's been a wild ride. I mean, this also happened in Indiana with my father, who also grew up in the 80s. Granted, there were parents standing in the back of his classrooms when he got it, but it still happened. In a study performed by the Guttmacher Institute and reported on by Planned Parenthood, they found that between 2015 and 2019, adolescents were less likely to report on receiving sexual education than they were in 1995. In that same vein, from Planned Parenthood, 43% of students report on not receiving key educational topics on sex ed before having sex, in whatever regards that may be. This is insane, specifically because there's a very good chance that it wasn't medically accurate. In a chart published by the Guttmacher Institute on December 1st, 2022, they reported that out of the 50 states in the United States, only 28 of them mandate sexual education and/or HIV education in some way. However, only half of those states require the sexual education to be medically accurate. 15 states out of our 50 require sexual education to be medically accurate. That is wild, specifically because so much of our society revolves around sex in some capacity, whether it be for procreation or pleasure, or even just in media where, let's admit it, everything is sexualized. It's a wild ride, and honestly, there hasn't been much change since the 80s. In fact, it has only decreased. I was able to talk to Jamie Grimm, who is the Health and Science Coordinator for Jefferson County Public Schools, also referred to as JEFCO. Now, JEFCO does mandate that sexual education be taught. However, in our lovely state of Colorado, it is not mandated. Within that, we do have a bill called House Bill 19-1032, also referred to as the Comprehensive Human Sexuality Education Bill. That bill states, according to the ACLU Colorado, that if a school district chooses to provide sexual education, it must be medically accurate, and it cannot overlook consent requirements. Now, those consent requirements involve not overlooking LGBTQ+ health, not saying that abstinence is the main form of contraceptives, and providing consent instructions. Now, in my talk with Jamie Grimm, she was able to give me a play-by-play of what sexual education looks like within Jeffco. And it has been implemented in the 5th, 7th, and 10th grades in science classes, and in high school, specifically biology classes. And this means that from 5th, 7th, and 10th grade, students will receive age and grade appropriate sexual education, and in accordance with House Bill 19-1032, it will become comprehensive. So why am I telling you this? Personally, it's to highlight the fact that nothing has changed, and it is important that things have to change. I want to implore students, and I want to implore teachers, and I want to implore school boards to implement this into their school districts and into their states, because sexual education is important, especially in a time when almost everyone's gonna have it. Let's be real. If we're going to keep sexualizing everything in the media, and even if we stop doing that, we need this education because it is about our health. And I'd like to argue that our health is really important. So I want to talk to the students, and I want you to use your voices because this is an education that you deserve. This is an education that you should have gotten without me having to stand on this stage. This is an education that is important to everyone. So please, talk to your school boards, talk to your science teachers, talk to your parents, and remember that you have a voice that can impact and empower change. Be the change we want to see and prove to the world that we are the change. And even if it's just in your school district, you are inciting change by raising your voice. Thank you.